Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hugan. Who knows if you were made for such a time as this? I believe whether you're a parent, an entrepreneur, a business owner, just a human being on the other side of this audio cast, I believe that you were made for a purpose, on purpose. And my heart's desire is to see you fulfill every aspect of that.
Yeah. And so, sometimes we can ask ourselves, is our role as a parent or an entrepreneur, is that part of God's bigger plan?
Yeah.
You know?
It can feel daunting at times.
Mm-hmm.
You're wiping another butt or snotty nose or both. Who knows, right?
While
We can
cooking.
while you're cooking. Oh, that's delicious. No, it's like this concept that we can get so lost in the weeds and inundated of the day-to-day life. You just feel like, does any of it count for anything?
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about that recently, you and I,
Yeah.
about where it's just like, oh, does any of this even matter?
Yeah.
And that's applicable, right? To us, we were talking specifically about the nitty-gritty instances of trying to do the daily grind, if you will, of business. And you have to have these incremental steps that you're taking that no one sees happening until, right, it's that concept of like overnight success in just under 10 years, right? It's like, well, yeah, it's like you never watched or never were there when all this stuff behind the scenes was happening until then, boom, one day somebody, you're quote unquote famous in that world or whatever the case might be. When you're in that phase of it, be it entrepreneurship, business owner, or parent, or all of the above, for many of our listeners, it's like, does it count for anything? Does it matter? Is this really what God wants for me in my life? Speak to that.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of challenges and attacks that we can experience with that. It's like the tug of war of, do I give more to my kids or my business? Am I doing the right things? Am I harmonizing?
Yeah.
Or am I balancing?
Sure.
And what one's the right one? And just like the pressure with identity, that we've talked about, like, am I loved? Am I seen? Am I enough? Am I worthy of this? But then also the enemy's lie starts to chime in and says that you have to choose between being a good parent or being a successful entrepreneur. And it's like, all of these things can come in combat, and then you're like, is this even worth anything? Is right? Did I hear you right? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because this feels really, really hard.
Sure.
And unfruitful and unsupported and all of different things. And it's like, yeah.
Two things I thought of when you said that. One is that somebody asked me one time very recently, they said, how do you know if you're like on the right path for what God is willing for your life? And my very quick, I was actually surprised. I had a lot of time to think about it. But I said one word: opposition. And she just kind of looked at me like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, like if I feel like there's resistance to me actually accomplishing the task, then I almost to a fault affirm that to be the right path that I'm on."
Mm-hmm.
Our kid's favorite song right now is "Lemonade."
Yes.
With Forrest Frank, and it's like if life is always easy, you're probably doing something wrong, right? And there are so many times in life, and I've referenced, for such a time as this, it's a famous biblical quote, if you will, from Mordecai to his cousin, Queen Esther, that says like, maybe this is the moment that you were created for, right here, right now. And I think we're all faced with those, be it being parents, being entrepreneurs, business owners, or whatever that looks like. There are instances in our life where we all come to a crossroads that says, wait a second, this is not going to be an easy decision to make. God, lead me through this. And I think if we default back to that, I think that's what we're actually supposed to do. And then also help our children see and live that out, like how we do it.
Yeah. And I think, just being on mission together as a family, like if you are an entrepreneur and you have a family, just making sure that both business and parenting align for that purpose, and making sure that your kids, if they're of age enough to understand the mission and the vision, that they are on that with you, because that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, is that you get to bring your kids alongside of you and share in that mission and vision, because you hope that one day they continue it on,
Right.
right? It's not, we talk about how anything is not, there's no destination. It's just a journey, and it continues and continues. And so being on that journey with your family, doing the things that you feel called to do,
Sure.
you want that journey to continue, right? You don't want it
Yep.
to end with you.
Yeah. You said this a second ago. I said there's two things that just reminded me of the other one. Pretty famous book, came out quite a few years ago, but it was like the 10X rule. It was a Grant Cardone book. And he says in there somewhere, sometimes I'll read a whole book and I'll get like one nugget out of it. Or sometimes I'll read halfway into a book and I'll get something and apply it and be like, wow, that's the whole thing I was looking for. And I put that book back down and don't pick it up, or I'll read it, the rest of it later. I don't know, something to that effect. But one thing that sticks out, probably a very minor concept in that book, was that he said, why can't I be both? Like, people are telling me you can't be a good dad, a good husband, and a successful entrepreneur, right? And he's worth, a lot of money, and that's cool. And money, I don't know if it's his Lord or anything of that nature, but we don't want money to be our Lord or anything. But I'm just saying, it's like, if God's put me in this time, he's put this thing on my heart to go and create a business, go and create value in the marketplace. But he's also given me this family to love, and you're a mom and or a dad or whatever, listening to this. Not that you could be both. What I mean is that maybe you're listening to this together as mom and dad and or dad.
I heard Ryan say that.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what I'm saying is that you can, I believe, actually do it all if God is at the helm, leading you into whatever it is that you're actively pursuing. And I really do believe we have an opportunity to do this pretty well. We're sitting in the podcast studio right now. Our kiddos are hanging out just outside the door. They're begging to come in. They want to be on the podcast. Yeah. So heads up, they might be here with us on a future episode, but interviewing us, or should we interview them? I don't know. But they, they come with us. This is life together. They get to see the purpose that God's called us towards in this thing that we're building, and be a part of it with us, which I love.
Yeah. And I mean, just like that, entrepreneurship, it does provide, freedom, resources, sleepless nights.
Yeah. Headaches.
In the same with parenting. It's, it's all just discipleship and in raising kids to know what it's like to go after something that you feel called to, and not just be stuck in the mundane of life and think that you just have to do the next thing in front of you that's handed to you.
Sure.
But, to think, the world's a blank canvas, life is a blank canvas, and I can structure it to look like what it needs to look like. If something's not working for our family, we change it.
Right. Is a beautiful aspect of it. And some people, you might not be there yet. You might not have that desire on your heart to do that. And that's okay. But just think of it in your parenting journey in the same way. If there's something you don't like, you have the power to change it. You're the boss. You know what I'm saying? Like, in that sense, inside your home. And so, really take some time to assess that and say, what do we like? I think there's a lot of times, because of maybe, be it our passions or our heart's desires, whatever, right? We come into this, we're married, we're just pursuing, and we're doing life together, and that's cool. And we got a couple kids, and now they're kind of running our life, and we're at the sports fields, and we're over here, and we're doing this event, and be it, it could be things from 4-H to soccer to, riding horses, anything, right? It could be anything that starts to run our life. We're like, hold on a second. I've talked to so many parents that feel that way. It's like, you're in control of that, right? Like, you could choose to do that differently. And if you want to prioritize your life in such a way for a greater good than what you feel like you're currently doing right now, you can do that, be it in business or in parenting.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're changing something, like talking to your kids about that too, because they'll be excited to be part of that change as well. And just being able to be alongside of you no matter what that is.
Sure. I think one of the main things that people actually, the reason why they don't, is they're afraid to fail in the instance of it. Again, like, I feel like I'm supposed to start a business, or I feel like I'm supposed to not sign this kiddo up for that sporting event, or again, whatever it is. Like, and there's this inter dialogue that happens. It's like fear of missing out, fear of failure, fear of something. And I just want to speak against that, right? Like, I think if you're fearful of something that's not of the Lord, right? Like, there's no way you can fail. There's no way it could be the wrong thing if you feel like God is leading you to that. So just hear my voice in this and saying, like, my heart's desire for you is to just be led by where God wants you to go in life. Pray and ask for him to guide you in that direction, and I promise you he'll answer it.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that come to mind when you talk about that. For one, you can't care about what anybody else thinks
Right.
about the decisions that you're making if you know that they are the correct ones for you and your family. But then there's also that, say that you start a business that you know that you are led to start and it doesn't work out. Does that mean you're a failure? No. It means that you learned something within there that is only going to set you up for success or to be stronger and better when you're called to do something different. And I just think that a lot of times we think, oh my gosh, it was a failure, it was a bust, it didn't go anywhere. And people who maybe aren't entrepreneurs or don't view things the same way are the ones that are saying that.
Sure.
But that is so not true. And it's unfortunate that those people who are those people saying that are going to miss out on the true life lessons that you get whenever you do stick your neck out and try, whenever you do the hard things, and allowing that to then set you up for more success later.
Well, I think it's almost like what you just said made me think of this. There's this notion outside or maybe just on the fence of Christianity, right? Where people are like, well, if I follow Jesus, I'm going to have to live this boring, go to church life that's just like
wave at your neighbor.
what? Yeah, exactly. On your way to church on Sunday, like all this stuff is just like, it's a weird concept to think about. But when you make the choice to make Jesus Lord of your life, you live with this aspect of freedom like anything you've ever had before. And so you feel as though, this is speaking from example's sake or from experience, is that, okay, I really do feel like God's calling me into this thing. That might be uncomfortable. We might have to work through some stuff mentally, like you said, some sleepless nights or whatever. But there's just this freedom in knowing that I am so certain that God is calling me towards this. Like, then it's going to be whatever God wants it to be. And it's just like this heavy sigh of relief of like, you know what? It's not up to me to carry that burden, right? God's calling me into it. It's going to be a blessing to me in some way, some shape, some form. And again, let's look at our parenting like that. Let's look at our business ventures like that. Let's just look at if we're in a workplace environment right now, like where and what does God want me to do on this? Ask him for it. And then also listen, right? I promise you he'll answer whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. And it comes with such a freedom and such a fun life that words can't explain.
Yeah, and really life is too short to be doing anything other than what you're called to do.
Right.
It's not just something to be comfortable and sit back and just take it day by day. It really isn't that. And you have to live boldly and on purpose in doing what you are called to do so that then your kids continue that as well.
Sure. I'm going to speak cautiously here because I don't want y'all to blame me for one thing going one way or another, but it's like, I've said this before. It's like, if I didn't enjoy doing this, I was just talking to somebody the other day, adjusting in my office, taking care of people. I said, if I didn't enjoy doing this, like I wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like life, you said it, is too short. Like don't waste one more second of your life doing something that you don't fully enjoy and love and feel called to do. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's starting a business, if it's taking a different job, if it's pursuing ministry, if it's doing like anything, I promise you, you will live such a more full life, even if it's with less like material things.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. We've come to a crossroads in life where it's like, oh, are we going to do this or that? It's like, well, you know what? If that's the will of God for our life to live in a box on the street, I don't think it is, then so be it. I would rather be there in the box on the side of the street inside the will of God for my life than in, some, high-rise mansion up in New York City. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like whatever it's supposed to be. If you're genuinely living that spirit-led life and you trust that God is leading you for a purpose, all you have to do is take those steps of faith, and I promise he'll bless the journey that you're on.
Yeah, and I think just a good question to reflect on this week is, where is God leading you, your family, your business for such a time as this?
Amen. That's my prayer for y'all. Take some time to think about it, pray about it, and listen.
If you are joining us for the first time since the expo, we are so glad that you are here. It was an amazing weekend. We got so much amazing feedback. Some were asking us to do it twice a year. Some were asking when the next one was. It was just all around amazing. Now, if you were there and you missed a speaker that you wanted to hear, or you just want to hear the replay, just go down in our description and you can click the link for our Off of Social Media community group where the replays will be. Your words are shaping your child's future, whether you mean to or not. Your voice becomes your child's inner voice. So is it speaking life or death?
That's a scary thought.
It is so scary.
It's very convicting, honestly, as parents,
Mm-hmm.
just to talk about and discuss today. It's not ever meant. We have our moments, right? We all maybe lash out, say something, and then regret that, right? But I think truly being intentional with our words and speaking life into our children so that our voices helps them create and curate a very positive inner voice, how well that could serve them into the future.
Yeah, and I don't even think it just goes as far as whether your words are building them up or tearing them down, even around like scarcity, lack, or abundance, and overflow. What are you speaking in your house that they hear? And then it's like, oop, subconscious,
Yeah.
I'm going to file that away, and that's going to be my core belief.
Absolutely. Well, it's one, people get a kick out of this when I tell them that I don't even let our kids say I'm sick. Like, right. I'm always very cautious of anything that follows our children's own, words when they say the powerful term, I am. So I am being the covenant name of God. God said, I am who I am. When Moses asked, who do I say has sent me? He said Yahweh, which is, breath. And it's just meant to be this major statement in biblical, history and then the knowledge of that, but it's also something we carry with us. So when Moses said, who do I say sent me? He said, I am sent me, right? And so now if someone introduces you, or if you introduce yourself to someone, you say, I am Ryan, right? And it's like you're carrying the covenant name of God with you wherever you go. Well, I'm always very cautious for our children to say things like, I am sick, I am tired, I am this, that, or, fill in negative, right? And so I do talks, health talks and different things in the community where I'll say that to people. I'm like, I won't even let our kids say, I am sick. Instead, we say, I am expressing health. Like God gave me this ability to do this thing. And so, like you said, scarcity, money mindset, fear-based terms will come out after that sometimes. And that's dangerous.
Yeah. And just on the sick thing, if you really think about it, if you've never done this might be a light bulb moment, but you think I am sick. Well, I am.
Right.
I've got the sniffles or I have a cough. No. Your body is expressing health because it was designed to make you cough, to get whatever you ingested out. Sneezing out, fever, killing whatever it is. So just in case you need that little mindset shift.
It's an invitation. I heard it. It's not original Ryan thought. We just don't say that in our house. I'm expressing health. Don't get me wrong, I get me a man cold every once in a while. That's the real deal.
Goes down.
Okay, I'm down for the count. I just won't allow myself to even think that I'm sick. I just try to focus and put my attention and my brain power on how my body's serving me, not trying to attack me or harm me, which is the sick connotation, which is a whole another conversation for another day, without a doubt. I really think the spoken word being said, though, God created the entire universe by speaking. And then in John 1:1, it says, references Jesus as the Word. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And it's just this beautiful connotation that we have power as creations of God to create when we speak. Like there's nothing that exists in life that wasn't first a thought that ultimately we, with God's, divine providence and ability to work through us, that we didn't create. And so if you're trying to create, in this case, a positive inner voice for your child, we have to be very mindful of the words we speak. Proverbs says, both life and death are in the power of the tongue. And one of my favorite pastors, he says that you can your words to your children will either be blessings in which you bless them with, or they will be curses in which you curse them with. And that was, again, for me, so convicting when I heard it for the first time, and why I was hopeful that we could talk about it on this podcast is because I think it really, truly does. If we just put a little bit of attention on it every single day, have the power to change our children's future.
Yeah, even as far as I know, we don't need to go down the whole list of what we encourage our kids not to say, but even I can't,
Right.
and because that just shuts the door on the possibility. And hate, we don't say hate. You cannot like something, but hate can't live in your heart. And
Right.
so, but can't, whenever we switch that to I'm having a hard time with, they end up getting it. When
Yep.
they'll slip up and they're like, well, I can't get the lid off. No, no, no. You're having a hard time.
Right.
And so and then it's almost like immediate once they shift that mindset. And so again, I would say that that's more of like the blessing, but even as far as, blessing versus curse. So speaking life into them, speaking compliments into them, if they are being difficult, all children are. You don't need to say you're being so difficult
Right.
today. Instead, you can reword that, to just say, I feel like you're maybe having a hard time. What's going on? How can we talk about that? Instead of letting that moment be something that you speak that in, because not only does that then go in as I'm difficult, but it also fuels them, to continue to be more difficult. It's hard on you when you say that. It changes your mindset and lets you spiral into negativity as well.
Yeah. And one we personally always struggled with is when people will say to our kids, oh, you're shy.
Yes.
It's a natural connotation for a child. Again, in a safe environment where I'm there present with someone speaking to them, my encouragement is for my child to speak to them. Last night we were at a church here in town, and a woman came out of the bathroom behind Jennings and I. We're at the water fountain, and we're filling it up, and she sees that Jennings got a new haircut. It matches mine. He's pretty pumped about it and pretty proud of it. And she said, oh, I like your haircut. She just, obviously, you could tell it's a buzz cut, so you could tell it was pretty short. And he said thank you, but he said it to the water fountain. And I joke with him. I was like, well, the water fountain didn't compliment you. Tell her, right? And it's natural for him to kind of shy away. I think that's all of us. I remember being that way when I was a child. But when someone's speaking to you, and again, it's a safe environment, my encouragement is for our children to turn and look to them and speak to them, right? And say what they want to say. So he did that and said thank you to her, and it was cute. But why I bring that up is because I think in that moment, it didn't happen. The woman could have said, oh, you're so shy. Oh, are you just being shy? And it's like, no, what do we tell our kids all the time? You're bold, you're strong, you're courageous, right? All of these words that we can speak into them. But again, we're never going to always get it right. So what do we do in the moments, Abby, when we get it wrong?
Take a deep breath.
You asked me last night what I needed to do when we got home after a long car ride in the car with the kids. I said, pray.
Yeah. Pray and breathe. I think that even if you do get it wrong, even if you do say something that you're like playing it back, oh, that may not have been the best thing that I can say. It's admitting to that and sitting down. I mean, we are not perfect. There's definitely plenty of times that
I'm not, but you're pretty close.
Yeah, I'm speaking for you.
Right.
But there's been lots of times that we've had to sit down. Hey, I didn't really react the way I should have. I shouldn't have said that. And when you admit that fault and you apologize to them, it teaches them that they're not always going to get it right. They're not always going to be perfect, because we don't want them to strive for perfection. Yeah. We want them to humbly admit that they may have done wrong, and to go to that person and be able to say that and clear the air, make up.
It's the humble piece that can be hard, I think, as parents, right? I remember growing up, great mom and dad, they would say things like, because I said so, right? And I'll do that. And that was always so frustrating for me as a kid. It's like, what do you mean, because I said so? But there's times with my kids that is like, we're doing that because that's what I said. That's just the way it's going to be, and that's fine. However, there's also times where we have to set aside our pride and go back and let our child, 5, 7, 3 years old, however old they might be, and say, I was wrong. It's really hard for us to do because we have this position of authority that God's given us with our children. But go back and say, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said it that way. I shouldn't have spoke to you like that. We should say it this way. I meant to say it this way. This is what I was thinking, right? That's hard to do, is to admit fault, admit wrong, especially as a, albeit weird to think about, kind of the authority in the room as the parent with a child relationship. And so, yeah, setting aside that, being humble, set aside your parental pride, if you will, of always, I say all the time, do we have a need to be right? Or is this a situation that we could, compromise or come to a, discussion around? So,
I feel like you're thinking of the yogurt.
yeah.
I make up rules in my head. I don't know why. But the kids, I was on it. I made dinner. It was like 5:00. But then by the time it's bedtime, they're all hungry again.
That's 5:00 dinner. It feels good
And
that
so,
you got it going, but
yes.
it means there has to be second dinner.
Yeah, so they're all hungry, and they're like, Mom, I'm hungry. I'm like, I already clean. But we also had popsicles. I let them have popsicles after their dinner. And so it's like, okay, sweet treat. Check. Well, then they wanted yogurt for their treat. And I'm like, oh, we can't do yogurt. We need to do like a beef stick or I just really want yogurt. I'm like, no, we can't do that. And you look at me like, why not, Mom? It's yogurt with protein powder mixed in. And it just felt like it was too sweet. But I mean, you were right. And so it's like we do this to ourselves. Right. We just make up these rules that aren't really rules. Nobody told me whatever. So that's just a little tangent. But
It is. And that's a real life example, is that's always our heart posture in these conversations is to just be mere funnels of discussion, right? Conviction, not condemnation around anything in the parenting world. I think we live in a world where you get on the wrong side of TikTok or Instagram or social media, and it's just, you feel this parental shame. I always call it, like, the greatest thing I see, and I'll talk to you about this, always like mom guilt. We'll get the keyboard warriors and people saying, oh, you should do it this way, you shouldn't do it that way. And it's not that. We're just sharing real life examples of this is how it works in our life. This is how we see it. How can we be better about this? How can we deepen this conversation so that the next generation of kids aren't as messed up as we are?
Right.
I love to say all the time, we're just messed up people trying not to mess up people. And I think it's manifest in this and the power of our words, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, there's everyday things that we could say to our kids that we just don't always feel like they're going to be harmful, that might. And it's hard to think through every single situation of like, is this going to damage them when they're older? Because there's different things that, our generation's parents did that I don't think that they knew that it would send us all to therapy for the rest of our lives, over different things.
I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but I always find it funny that the older generations, like our parents and grandparents, complain about the younger generation, but they're the ones that raised us.
Yes.
It's funny. We're going to do the same thing. I think it's just it stands the test of time. That's a reality of, that generation, those millennials, or whatever. Another one of the things that goes underneath the everyday curses conversation is the you're just like, or why don't you do it like? And what I mean by that is I see it all the time with siblings. Your sister does it this way. Why don't you? Mm-hmm. We don't mean it in a negative way. We were pleased with the way it went. It's really hard with twins.
Yes.
We were pleased with the way it went over here in this situation. We were just hoping maybe that could happen again, rinse and repeat. I don't think that's something we do a lot. It just could show up. Or you're just like your whoever, right? Mm-hmm. Dad, or, oh, you get that attitude from your mom, or, whatever. I think those are some of those ones where it's just, if we're not cautious, and that's all the invitation is just to be mindful of the words that come out of our mouth, because if we're not careful, they can ascribe, we never know what thing they're going to ascribe their identity to. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's things that we work through as a couple now at 30 something years old where we're like, oh, wow, I had no idea that's why I do that. Mm-hmm. Like, we were just having that discussion yesterday. It's like, oh, I'm really glad. And I said, hey, bring that on out into the light, because we both had this almost, epiphany type moment where it's just, in my childhood, I had ascribed this ideology that I was this way or that way, or had this identity put on me. And it's not true. Mm-hmm. It's not true. Now I got to work through that.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not always, pushed upon you on others. Sometimes it's just standards that you've held to yourself. That's, what you tell me all the time is like, nobody said you had to do all of this and have it all done in a day and it all be perfect.
Yeah.
but it's just something that we do to ourselves. And so, that is, we don't have to carry so much pressure.
Yeah.
We just have to also pray about it and know that, ask God to just guide us and show us and teach us. And if you don't pray before your morning with your family, I encourage you to do so, because it just helps get your heart posture right and just set your expectations for the day too, which I believe is where all of speaking blessings or curses over your kids and to your kids unintentionally comes from, is false expectations for the day, or just not knowing what the day will bring and then being disappointed when it brings something that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. It's something that came to my mind. I don't know, for any of you listeners, this might seem as possibly as strange to you as it did to me the first time I guess conceptualized it, but there's this biblical notion of receiving a blessing. And so this is an invitation where we're talking about those every day, just words we speak, but also putting a lot of intention towards, and it might have to be almost borderline ceremonial. I don't know what it would look like. Pray about it, think about it, read the scriptures on it. But it was very interesting to me how seeking, especially in the Old Testament, we see where, we were seeking the Father's blessing. And so maybe this challenge or invitation is to the dads of, how could you, with your words, speak a blessing to your children? Especially, I think, our sons, fathers to sons, but yes, to daughters as well. We love that song. We like to play it, not every night, but a lot of nights. It's called The Blessing, and it's based on Numbers. I think Numbers chapter 6, something like that. And it says, may the Lord bless you and keep you, right? And we just, our genuine prayer needs to be that for our children, to invite them into a fold that the world is going to deter them away from. And so you are parents blessed to be a blessing. Like, you're blessed with children, and it's so easy for us to get wrapped up in the seeming curse of a frustration of a sibling fight over the middle seat in the side by side when we go for a ride on the back roads, right? Or whatever it is. And just an invitation for anyone that would be listening that has children to just see every moment, even the hard ones, as a blessing, because my parenting motto has always been, this too shall pass, right? And it reminds me, heard a father say this one time, it reminds me in the really good moments to soak them up, because it's going to be worth it. And it's also going to pass. In the really hard and the challenging moments, know that, hey, this is a season, and this season, it too shall pass. And so that leads to what I call that dichotomy of parenting, right? It's the greatest thing in the world to watch our kids grow up. It's the worst thing in the world to watch our kids grow up, and it's really hard. But if we just keep that, they're such a blessing to us, maybe we can actually come up with a way to bestow a blessing upon them in real convicting manner, but also just being mindful of it with our words every day.
Yeah, I love that. And it's never too late to start speaking those blessings over your kids. So even if, you've had, just issues with your tongue, or, you don't feel like you've been doing a stellar job, none of us are, just don't be discouraged to just start speaking those blessings over your kids, your family, and yourself today.
Absolutely. I like it. I heard it said this way, that you're your child's first prophet. Prophesy to them, prophesy that there's a future that God has for them. And you guys, again, the theme of this podcast oftentimes, God didn't make mistakes when he gave you that strong-willed child, right? Let's bless them with our words. We invite you guys to do that. Come back next week for another awesome podcast. If you like this one, please share it, subscribe to the channel. We love having you here and deepening the conversation.
Did you know that we spend about a third of our lives in bed? That's over 8 hours a day that our body should be resting, healing, and restoring. But did you ever stop to think about what we're breathing in during that time? Most mattresses today are made with synthetic foams, flame retardants, and chemicals that release toxins into the air, especially while we sleep. That's why we made the switch to My Green Mattress, made with only clean organic materials. There's no chemical smell, no off-gassing, just a pure supportive mattress that helps your body truly rest and recover the way it was designed to. As a family, that peace of mind is worth everything. If you want to create a healthier home from the inside out, go check out the link in our description. You'll see exactly why we love our green mattress and why we'll never go back. People always ask us, how do you guys work together? And something that we get asked is like, why should couples and families have businesses together and work together? And Ryan was talking just the other day about a Bible story that he's going to share that
Yeah.
just talks about that and the depth of it. So go ahead.
Sure. Well, in the book of the Acts,
Am I beautiful? Am I lovable?
do I have what it takes? Am I enough? These are the questions that every man and woman deal with on a daily basis. I believe they're the core fundamental questions that go deeper than any surface level ideology we could have. And this is what your spouse needs to hear from you more than anything. Men, you have to tell your spouse that she is lovable, she is lovely, and she is beautiful.
And women, you have to tell your spouse that he does have what it takes and that he's doing enough and he's doing a good job. And Hercules.
So why do you think this is? Why do you think we struggle so much in these different concepts? As a couple, even as well as we know each other, how come you think we get off course sometimes?
I think that it's just the world in general. It's easy to just see the narrative that I'm never enough.
Sure.
And I don't have what it takes. And there's always somebody else who's doing more than me, better than me, prettier than me. I mean, you do a workout class at home, and you watch these women who have been working out for years,
Sure.
longer than I've even thought to work out, and look great and are steady and balanced and like it's easy to do. It's just natural for us to compare ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Because that's how we see how we are mounting up, is to compare ourselves. And it's just whenever we take that comparison into a negative way and then just start tearing ourselves down over it, that it really gets out of hand. And I think that social media and just life in general like that, we are more connected and see more highlight reels and all of the things that we've all heard so often, but we internalize it. And so I
Sure.
think we have to be super focused on that. But then there's also maybe ways that you were raised that you never felt like you were actually ever enough.
Yeah.
And I think that it can also come from that, so it can be a combination as well.
Multiple different facets for sure. I think the idea is one, you said it, comparison, it really is the thief of our joy. I think we have the opportunity to live a very joy-filled life. Joy is totally different than like happiness, right? Always heard happiness is based on our happenings, like what has happened to us in the last 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years, whatever. That can alter how happy you are. But there's a deep-seated joy that could run in your veins, if you will, if you allow it to be, and you look at life differently when that's the case, unless you're comparing where you're at with where someone else who isn't you, right? We get this and know this, I think, on a different level, maybe than, I don't want to say anybody, but people that I guess in our situation have identical twin daughters, right? And like how hard and how much do we long for them to be who they are, which is so different, right? Like,
Yes.
most of the time.
Yes.
There are instances where it's like they throw us off because it's like, wait, you're more acting like your sister or whatever. Just the thought process anyway there. Not that we say that out loud, but that being said, it's like, how do we, as a couple, navigate that for each other? Like, how can we help each other not compare to one another?
Yeah, and I think just before I get into that, of just, you always want to be the best version of yourself, and you always want to strive for more and do your best, and all of those motivational quotes that you see, you always want to do that. But it's like there's just a fine line of doing that too much to where it's a negative spiral. And so I never want it to be like, oh, good enough or, anything like that.
Sure.
But, I just think that it's important to differentiate between the two. Now, ask me your question again.
Well, I think the question is, how do we help each other? How do listeners who have a spouse that is dealing with those fundamental questions, right? So if there's a woman listening and she's thinking about her husband or herself and vice versa, how do we help each other? Like, how do you help me know that I am enough and that I am worthy and qualified and
Yeah. Well, I think for starters, if you notice that your spouse is off or just not happy, you kind of got to, if it's your husband, you got to pin him down and make him tell
Right.
you all his feelings.
Not fundamentally good with words.
No.
In
And
that
so you
regard.
do that and you're like, but why? But why? But
Sure.
why do you feel like that?
Sure.
And so once you learn what that feeling is for your spouse or that chatter is, then I feel like you can combat it by saying the things that are already on your heart anyway, that we just lack saying a lot of the time.
Sure.
Because life gets busy and everything like that. But then we can be reminded, oh, well, I feel like this. And then when he says these nice things, like, I feel so much better. And so then you can make sure that you do that for your spouse as well and just combat that for them. So learning what their triggers are, what theirs is, and then you can combat that easily.
Yeah. I was just thinking about real life in the sense of this. I'm, really getting up there. I'm 33 now.
Mm-hmm. He brought his walker, but it's just by the door.
Right. Yeah. But as things unfolded, I guess, in the weeks after my birthday or whatever, I feel like I was just like, oh, man, I thought it'd be further along than this by now in X, Y, and Z category. Like pretty much just everywhere, right? Like we say faith, health, family, wealth. Yep, all of them, right? Like I just, whatever. And I don't know, it's just whispers of the enemy, whatever it would be, comparison to others ultimately is, like I said, a big issue. But not focusing on my true inherent purpose in this world and where I'm at and the place God has me in this time or whatever. And Abby, you mentioned to me that you said, well, did God put a timeline on the things that you said or whatever? I forget exactly how you said it. I was like, I mean, no. She's like, so could you do it at 34 or 64 or whatever, whatever your life could look like? I was like, yes, and it was very appreciative that you, again, in a cute and funny way, again, guess what? Ryan's doubting himself here today or tonight before we go to bed. But it's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's just another birthday came by and it was right on the, hopefully that's not my midlife crisis.
Better not be.
Be an issue. But the, concept there is like you were combating that with just a really simple question because you've gotten to know me pretty well. And so, yeah. And then vice versa too, like from me to you. I think oftentimes, I don't think that's negative or anything different or anything like that. I think women you could compare different ways too, but I just think there's an underlying concept there that, again, the enemy is actually attacking what God would have to say about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what we combat with the kids and our daughters. I say all the time, I tell them every night that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, because when some teenage boy tells them that they're not one day, that they're going to be like, well, you're stupid, because I know that that's not true.
My dad says.
Yeah, exactly. Or my heavenly Father says otherwise,
yes.
right? And I think women, and men all alike, I think every female on the planet is a blood-bought gift, like from God, right? Mm-hmm. Like they are a fearfully and wonderfully made creation and a daughter of the King. Like that's a crazy concept to think about. And most of us and men, our job is to treat our wives that way, right? Because you want to be so adamantly about that and about your wife that anything else that the world could ever say about her, it's just going to stink. Like it's not going to, I don't believe that, right? Or whatever. Now, again, slippery slope, things can sneak in there or whatever, and we want to be equipped. I want to be equipped to combat that for you, but I know that to be true, that I really do believe that we ought to be treating you like the, if I may, princess that you are if you're the daughter of the King. So
Cinderella. That's
right.
What Jennings told me. I was in my yellow jammies last night, and he goes, Cinderella dressed in yellow. I'm like, yep, that's me. But, and I think that because men were created to work and protect and provide, and that's why I think that men just question if they're doing that enough, so
Sure.
it's mostly out of I know that this is my job. Am I doing enough? Am I giving enough? Am I where I should be by now? But whereas women, like, they are the life givers, they're the nurturers, the lovers.
Sure.
And so we are always just like, okay, am I doing enough? Am I cherished enough?
Mom guilt is so real.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually painful.
It's painful.
Where you're like, I'm not even a good mom. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right.
I don't know. You just hand prepared this meal, or you just did that, or what, right? Like all these different, I mean, you can do anything. It's not just about cooking. I don't want, if a mom likes to, buy dinner from out. You can do that too, and you're still a great mom. It's not
You still
about
fed
that.
them.
It's like, I'm worried I'm worried that
I
I'm
know.
going to guilt a mom into the way she prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not real. Like, the fact that you love your family, you love your children, that's what actually matters. It's just whatever it is. Again, husbands out there, speak truth to your wife. Tell her, where you see these instances of her God-given ability to nurture and love and care for your family coming through. Oh, champion that for sure.
Yeah, and I really don't feel like any of these are weaknesses. Like, they are just God designed to
Differences.
yeah, to just and to point us back to what matters most. And so really, if you want to pivot it and be positive with it, you can hear those things and just be like, oh, you know what, let me just status check real quick. Do I have my priorities straight? Am I giving it my all in this? Is there a different area that I feel led to change or do more in, whatever that needs to look like? Because I really believe that you could also turn it into a positive and just assess the situation a little bit.
Sure. Well, again, so much of a theme lately has been the spiritual attack on the family unit, right? We talk about that all the time, and just the darkness creeping into the minds of a godly fearing man and or woman or family. But I think the way that the enemy likes to twist this in a man's life is just, like I said, that comparison and not thinking you're enough, right? But then we have to be able to combat that with scripture. And something that I heard once, and I'll never forget it, and then I always try to reiterate it to my son, Jennings. I'll say to him, son, like just last night I did this, laying in bed. I said, buddy, I'm proud of you. And he was like, oh, thanks. Why? I said, because you're my son. Now, I don't mean that to be like, hey, I'm what's worthy here. I just mean that you've met the qualification. Like, that is enough. You have earned my love, and there's nothing you could ever do to unearn my love. And that's what the Bible says about us, men, in relation to our Heavenly Father. Now, our earthly father may or may not have exuded those personality traits very well. However, it is just so true. And the beautiful relationship that Jesus has with his Heavenly Father is laying that out for both men and women to be able to see, and then see ourselves in and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, that's the only qualification that there is that you're my son. And God says that about all of us men, is like, you're my son. Like, and then best part ever, go into the book of Matthew. I think it's end of chapter 3, chapter 4, somewhere right in there. It's when Jesus is being baptized. The heavens open up. There's an audible voice of God, and God says, behold, my son, in whom I am well pleased. To this point in time, Jesus had lived 30 years, but relative to his earthly ministry, had done nothing yet, right? And so God is giving the blessing to his earthly son, right? Where he says, that's it. All he's doing is he exists. He's here. I'm pleased with this son of mine. And God feels that way about each and every one of us. But I think we as earthly fathers, it's our job to help our sons feel that way, to combat this for the next generation. So much of what we're trying to do, so I always joke and say, we're just messed up people trying not to mess up people too bad, our little people. But it's like learning through those instances of like, okay, this is somewhere that I can do that and combat that for our son. How can we, how can moms also do that for daughters and things like that? Like, because of the way the enemy will twist it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's not to make them, overly proud of themselves, but it's just to help eliminate a little bit of that chatter that may sneak in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there's instances of this too in, like, even within Scripture. I think one of the most, obviously, the poetic and amazing language of, like, Song of Solomon. And, again, these are just words that God gave his people to write down, right? Like, God isn't actually writing this down in heaven and paper airplaning it down to us or anything, right? It's biblically inspired. The Bible, the canonized scriptures are, inspired by God, right? And so when we look at the Song of Solomon and how that relationship plays out, there's a lot of doubt in the Shulamite woman's voice when she's kind of thinking and talking about herself. And Solomon does such a good job of telling her all about how really beautiful she is and what he loves about her and how he's attracted, and that she is his standard for beauty, right? And I think us men can do that and should do that for our wives.
Yeah, and same for us to you. We need to be that voice of reason, and we just need to be the voice of truth for each other in marriage and family, for our kids, and even for your best friends. You can even do it there too. But I really think that it is so intimate whenever you can combat that and just speak truth into your spouse and family.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's extremely important that we do it and set it, the example in our marriage for our children, because I want our kids to see a good, functionally God-directed marriage. But I also want to speak such truth to them that when the enemy lies, they don't believe it, because he's coming with the lies for sure.
Yes. And, there's even going to be people in their life that maybe don't treat them right. It's kind of, it's challenging to think about that, thankfully I have you, but it's like before that, who is your sound voice?
Yep.
If not, because you grow up and you leave the house and you do more things outside the house. And so who is that sound voice that's going to speak that truth and light back into you? And so just equipping them to be able to determine what friends are speaking life and who aren't, and who do I believe and what do I listen to whenever mom and dad aren't right there to be like, you're so awesome,
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. That's a thing. I hear it. I think we've had this conversation before, and we talk about it, yes, in our relationship, but then also like joking with Jennings and how you will coddle him. Mm-hmm. Like we hear that, right? Like oftentimes wives will say that, well, I'm not going to coddle him, right? Like that's his mom's job. That's what his mom did. And so many times that's the instance. And there's something like very true about that, where moms and their boys, they can do no wrong, right? And then
he can do
the spouse
no wrong.
like dynamic, how does that work from your perspective? Like,
all I know is that my baby boy can crawl up in my lap and I will coddle him when he is 33.
About me, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You.
Jennings can do no wrong. I could definitely do wrong.
Yeah, and then I'm like, I'm not your mom, but I'm like, I'm raising a boy that is going to expect, but that's okay. And I think it makes me view you differently a little bit. Thanks. Like, oh, you do. Come here.
Well, I think there's something in the original. Again, if you go to the fall in chapter 3, the exact terminology is going to be translation based, but there's this aspect where God says, to the woman, your desire will be for your husband, and then is something to the effect like he will rule over you, right? And it's this weird dynamic, and we don't like that terminology, especially in modern day terms. We need to look, do a word study on that, actually assess what it means, and it's just like this dynamic that if not careful, our relationships can become this kind of nitpicky at each other type of a thing. Like if we're not constantly aware of it, right? Where you offer help to me when I'm just wanting to like sulk or vice versa, right? And there's this concept where it's like, what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Tell me.
No.
You got to.
The other day you needed help, but it wasn't time to help, so I had to make a list.
Oh, yeah.
So you're ready for help, and then I had to pull up my list.
See,
I'm like, okay, now that you're ready, here we go.
Yeah, I was just trying to sulk in my issues.
But it's taken me
here we
15 years to learn that. So
maybe the first time that's happened yet. So
I think growth happened.
But vice versa too, right? Because oftentimes I want to solve problems and you just want to tell me all of them and let me hear them, right? And so I think there's an aspect of that we have to be mindful of and careful of, but also just that, like the woman, again, the terminology that God used when he set it up was that he wanted to find a helper suitable for Adam, right? And so Adam was first creation. That Adam is actually the Ahadam is the Hebrew for man, okay? So we just say Adam because that's a translation that we use in the English term, but it's like Adam and Eve, right? First man, first woman that God created. God was saying, all right, we need to find a helper. Put Adam to work, which, okay, men, just side note, God made work. It can't be that bad. Let's not complain about it, okay? We have a job to do on this earth. You were made for a purpose and on purpose. Let's go do our work. Let's just do it aligned in arm, hand in hand with God, right? Let's advance the kingdom. Let's use whatever God's given us as a job, as a place to work, as an income stream, because we need that to provide for our family. Let's go do that. Let's provide. Let's protect. Let's prophesy. Let's be that element for our family. So God may work. It can't be that bad. Literally before the fall of man, Adam was working with God, right? So that's the instance. Are we taking God into the workplace, right? So soapbox moment there. But if we look at this and we set it up and we think about how it was set up, God said, let me find a helper suitable for Adam. And Adam goes through all the different animals, all of creation that God made, and said, nobody here. God says, okay, well, go to sleep. Let me take a rib out. Let me make you a helper, right? And this concept before the fall was made to be that Adam and Eve were side by side along with God. There's literal terminology in Genesis that they were walking in the garden with God. Like, it's crazy to think about, but that's happening. That's the ideal. Okay, so if anything in our marriage is happening that's different than that, if somehow we think, I've heard that, and I think it's neat, is all behind every good man is a woman, and I like that, but I love like by my side way more, because that's what God had in mind when it was said. Wasn't that one was over another. There was no lordship or submission in the way that we think about submission. When we think about submission, we think about reverence for one another. Mm-hmm. Is that you were created by God for me, I was created by God for you, and we're supposed to do this together, mm-hmm. right? And so, again, if we look at this and we think of that terminology of the helper, sometimes you're just trying to help me, and I perceive it since the fall as like nagging, or you're just trying to fix me, or you don't think I'm any good. What am I, poison? As your nephew used to say, like all these things. Like it's just like I take it and internalize it and make it out to be this thing, and we don't want to do that in our relationships, either spouse to one another.
Right. And so I just think it's important to even pay attention to that as well whenever we are going into this, of hearing what that voice is saying, combating that, but combating it right. The right time, the right way. So as you go into this week, just talk to your spouse about what it is that you're feeling and what they're feeling, and just be the one to then remind them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made by God, and that you're loved and you're doing good and everything is great.
And husbands, your wife should never question that you think that she's the most beautiful standard of beauty ever to walk this earth. If she has any other question than that, start working on fixing it right now. Maybe it wasn't an awesome day, or the kids weren't behaving, or they've been fighting or spatting with each other quite a bit. And I'm like, oh, nuh-uh, mama ain't happy. I'm not happy. I'm going to be the maddest one of this house. And you're like, hey, don't yell at my kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just told me.
It is. It's this hard thing. I'm like, I need your help. And then I'm like, oh, not so hard.
Whoa, too much.
Yeah. I'm like, those are my
sensitive.
babies. Yeah. So we even had something like that last night in Uno. I don't remember the exact term, but you looked at me and you're like, I am just trying to. I'm like, I know, but not that.
Yeah. Whoa, calm down. Okay, that's fair.
Oh, just so funny. I appreciate the support.
Ain't nobody else can yell at this mama's babies.
No.
Her only.
Mm-mm.
No, it's all right. Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hukin. We pour everything we have into our kids. But as parents, I think the greatest gift that we could give them is showing them loving our spouse the way that God would have us to. I think it's the most important thing to do for our kids to see us love each other really well. What about you, Ab?
Yeah, I think that is true. I think that it's good for them to see a healthy marriage full of love and fun and support in good times and in bad times, and just have that stability.
Yeah, I think stability is a really good word. I think to some extent they need to see where priority lies. I do believe that is a difficult thing in our parent journey, is how much we love our children. We need to love our spouse as our priority, and then out of the abundance of that love and out of the overflow of that love, our children reap the benefits. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that it just does so much, even for their future, right, and what it sets up for their future, because they can see healthy love and right, communication and commitment between parents.
Sure.
I really do think it raises their standard.
Right. And it's not that it's always sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows. It's that they see love abound even in sometimes, albeit I'll say conflict, I guess. That sounds like a harsh word, but there's just, differences. We're two different people that God joins together. How they see us navigate disagreements and things of that nature, I think, are very valuable too, because they have to operate from that place of love.
And I don't know if it was on here, or if it was somewhere else that I had mentioned that I had seen this, but it said if your kids see you fight, make sure that they see you make up.
Sure.
So that they know that all conflicts do have resolution, and that they can see both parts of that too.
Yeah, because it would be really a disservice to them if they only ever saw one side of that issue. Okay. We've talked about that, I know, in a podcast before, rules of engagement in fighting, if you will, or disagreements is okay. Well, that's a good one, but also make sure that if it were to ever take place in front of the kiddos, that they also see resolution. And then also too, just as parents, I think sometimes we get short with our kiddos, or life's stressful, or things are happening and they're maybe not doing the best job they've ever done of listening or things like that. Also, there's that repentant heart, that comes back to even our children and says, hey, I'm not so proud as to say I can never apologize to you, to our children, but say, hey, dad was wrong. This is where that went. Things like that too, I think are very important. And I think as men, we should be the lead apologizer in the home. That will set the entire tone of the household differently if we're the first to apologize whenever is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, parents aren't made to be perfect. They're
Right.
just made to be together and to admit fault and teach them that as well, because marriage is the foundation of a family, and
Right.
that happened before becoming parents.
Right.
For the most times.
Sure.
And it's so important for them to know that and to see that.
Yeah. I think it gets into, we talk a lot about rhythm and life rhythm and God's rhythm for what we would have life to be. And I think that's manifest in the scripture too, where he obviously brought Adam and Eve together, and out of their union bore two children, or multiple kids beyond that too. But like that, there's an order and a rhythm to it that is idealistic, but it's not just for the sense of like, oh, that's how life should be. Sometimes life and passions and different things gets out of order, but out of that can still come, an opportunity for children to see their parents prioritizing each other. Mm-hmm. And so that can look, multitude of different ways, but sometimes our kiddos have even said things like, oh, well, what, do you just love mom more than me? And it's like, okay, it's different. All right. Yeah. And I still don't know perfectly how to answer that, but there are times where I think of the time we were in, I think it was like our marriage counseling with our pastor at the time. And he said something to the effect of, he came home and it was not a good day. And his wife and one of his sons were, I guess, had a disagreement, and the son was not very nice to his mom. And so he went in and talked with the son and was like, listen, I loved her before you got here. You're going to grow up and leave this house one day, and her and I are still going to be the ones here. So I'm on her team, right? Like I am team mom. You can't be, acting that way. And it's like, I think our kids really do benefit when they see that. They don't love it in the moment because they feel, oh, they don't love me as much as Jennings. I mean, he's in a dramatic season right now, but gosh, it's like, yeah. They can see it for what it is, and it is very important for them to see us love each other as a priority, I think.
Yeah, because I know that it's a common thing that people talk about, is that when your kids are young, parents, especially moms, lose themselves in motherhood, parenthood, homeschooling, whatever that may be, taking care of the home. Yeah. And a lot of times the mom and dad don't take time for themselves or to go on dates and do things like that. And so right. They grow apart. Kids, which is kind of like the buffer.
Right.
Or the distraction. They don't realize that they don't even know the person that they married anymore.
18 years later, like, who are you?
Yeah. And then it's like two empty nesters are sitting across the room looking at each other, not even knowing who the other one is. Yeah. And so you have to be very careful with that and make sure that you're prioritizing time together, date nights, things like that, which it's hard to do.
Very hard.
We don't. Sometimes this is our date. And
podcast session date night.
Yeah. Sometimes, like, it's only every other time. Yeah. Most time we have them here with us too. So, yeah. It really is just a good thing to make sure to prioritize. You sent me something the other day that I want you to try to describe, or maybe we should just put it up on
I
the.
wonder if we can put it into the video. That would be
Well, the only thing is
hilarious.
if they're not listening on something that you
Oh,
can
that's
watch
true.
on.
Yeah.
But
Watch
go
us
ahead
on
and try.
YouTube. That's where you should be anyway.
Yeah, try to describe it. What you sent me the other day.
Okay, so it was first and foremost, I think, hidden camera footage of our household.
Maybe.
No, you don't think
Yes.
so? But it was a guy. He was pretending to be both mom and dad, but then also the kids, and so it was like a reel that was split up into him being all these different people, and I think the title of the reel was like, when I'm just trying to match my wife's energy. And so she's kind of hollering at the kids as they're running through the house being wild animals. And she's like, hey, we're not going to run in the house. We're going to do that. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then next thing, the kids come running in and they're doing something else. And she kind of hollers at them for that. It's like, hey, be nice, respect your brother or whatever. And dad's like, yeah, okay. And then third time around, the kid brings a game in and dad's like, no, we're not going to do that. And she's like, hey, you need to calm down. And kind of starts getting onto him. But he was just trying to match mom's energy. And I felt like I say that as it's hidden footage from our houses, because sometimes I'll come home and maybe it wasn't an awesome day, or the kids weren't behaving, or they've been fighting or spatting with each other quite a bit. And I'm like, oh, nuh-uh, mama ain't happy. I'm not happy. I'm going to be the maddest one of this house. And you're like, hey, don't yell at my kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just told me.
It is. It's this hard thing. I'm like, I need your help. And then I'm like, oh, not so hard.
Whoa,
yeah.
too much.
Yeah. I'm like, those are
He's
my
sensitive.
babies. Yeah. So we even had something like that last night in Uno. I don't remember the exact term, but you looked at me and you're like, I am just trying to. I'm like, I know, but not that.
Yeah. Whoa, calm down. Okay. That's fair.
Oh, just so funny. I appreciate the support.
Ain't
and the
nobody
help.
else can yell at this mama's babies.
No.
Her only.
Mm-mm.
That's all right.
As parents, we love finding natural ways for our family to feel their best, and that is why we chose Llama. They make genuine Baltic amber jewelry for both kids and adults, known for its soothing and grounding properties. For little ones, it's a beautiful natural option to help with teething and inflammation, and for adults, it can help ease tension and bring a sense of calm throughout the day. Each piece is handcrafted from authentic Baltic amber. It's never plastic, never imitation, just simple, natural comfort that fits your lifestyle. Check out the link in our description to shop Llama, natural comfort for the whole family. Did you know that we spend about a third of our lives in bed? That's over 8 hours a day that our body should be resting, healing, and restoring. But did you ever stop to think about what we're breathing in during that time? Most mattresses today are made with synthetic foams, flame retardants, and chemicals that release toxins into the air, especially while we sleep. That's why we made the switch to My Green Mattress, made with only clean, organic materials. There's no chemical smell, no off-gassing, just a pure supportive mattress that helps your body truly rest and recover the way it was designed to. As a family, that peace of mind is worth everything. If you want to create a healthier home from the inside out, go check out the link in our description. You'll see exactly why we love our green mattress and why we'll never go back.
I get it.
So, I mean, it's just important to have that support, though.
Yeah.
Making sure that you are on the same team, no matter if that team changes from moment to moment or not.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that before, but like cartel level loyalty.
Yes.
You're my ride or die, and that I really do. In those moments, I feel that way genuinely. Like that's like, oh, you're getting upset, and then that's a thing I have to manage in my own self, because sometimes I can take it to like level 10, no problem, 0 to 10, like no problem, but you're not feeling that way. You're just been frustrated with the situation or the happenings of the day, and so it's like, whoa,
for a long time period.
For the entire day that I was gone, or whatever that looks like, it was not matched appropriately, because I, in that sense, was the problem. So that's fair.
And I do think it's important for husband and wife, whenever you're managing a family together, and kids and schedules and goals and all the things that come with managing a family intentionally, and yourselves. I've seen where people will sit together, and we've done this a lot in the past. Sometimes it's on a certain day, sometimes it's just here or there, whenever we can sit down, and we map out the week and each other's goals and priorities and what we need to do with the kids and what we want to do with the kids. And something as simple as that, even planning dinners together so that the whole family's on the same page. Because I think a lot of times frustration can come from lack of expectation or not knowing what to expect.
Sure.
Even down to dad doesn't know what's for dinner, when mom's going to feel like cooking dinner, when she's not. But also the kids, like once they get to a certain age, they want to know what to expect as a whole, as a family. Are we doing game night this night? Are we, what are we having for dinner? All of those things.
And inviting them into it. And I think that level of intentionality around our lives, the home, our marriages, especially if there's a point to this podcast, it's that we would prioritize and be intentional with our marriages, because I can't think of the quote or the saying right now, but I know that left alone, it's going to tend toward and drift towards chaos. Like it's gonna get out of the normal rhythm that we want and would intend. If you asked, I think if you interviewed even divorced couples, right, they would say, well, I don't know, it was just, as you were saying a moment ago, we woke up one day and it's kind of a stranger in my house, and I just didn't know them, because sports schedules and life and doing all of these things and activities, all that stuff, it adds up to potentially intentionally, divisively by the enemy, shift two parties apart. And I think we have to take the time and intentionality week over week, whether that's just setting up and looking at the schedule and saying, what do we actually want to do as a family? What things are priorities to us? Which ones are really just fluff and we're doing them because we feel like it's what we're supposed to do? I know there's a lot of those types of activities if people would admit to it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also is slippery slope as well, doing business things together like we do, because even like this, what should kind of substitute as a date night is really just business. And so there can be times that it's like, I just view you as a coworker, beneath me, of course, so I can lead you, but but it's easy for that, and then let alone building a house, because it's like you kind of walk in from adjusting and I'm like, hey, got this list. And I think if you work fast but hard and focused, like you could get all of these things done before we play a game night, for the kids to go to bed. And I'm just, I
almost sent you a video the other day. It was like moms on Sundays. All right, y'all, you just need a relaxing day. Okay, we're just going to take it easy. Just church and breakfast. That's it. But then if we do that well, we can get home, and by noon, we could be cleaning the basement. And then once the basement's cleaned out, before we even have lunch, we could do that. It just had all this long list of stuff. And it was like, yeah, I feel that sometimes.
Yes, yeah, it happens. And, we mean the best by it for sure.
I know you do. You only want what's best for us. And we love your list.
Thank you.
Your list keeps us moving in the right direction.
Moving forward.
I do know that's a somehow applicable quote. Like you're either growing or dying. It's either moving forward or moving backward. There is no stay still. And I think that's very applicable in marriage, is that if you're not intentionally working on your marriage, it's going to drift in whatever way the world would have it go. And that's not at all what anyone on their wedding day would say, yeah, I hope that, 20, 30, 40 years from my life from now, I hope that we've just drifted blissfully into this place of wonder. It's like, that doesn't, no. We have to actively and very intentionally work on our marriage. I do think that's a thing. And I do say, I know other couples will attest to this, some more than others. I don't know why God brought you together with your spouse, but I know that there's a purpose in it. And I think it's our due diligence to just actively and intentionally walk and work that out and let our kids see the work, because they're going to grow up and very oftentimes marry their mom or their dad, right? Like vice versa. Or a version of, you know what I'm saying? So I think we have to do the hard work now for the next generations to have a better foundation for them to step off of.
Yeah, I mean, your kids don't just need your attention, they need your example. And it's really exciting to think that you get to set the standard of who your kids will marry and how their marriage will look for generations to come. So we want to hear what your date night in a crunch may be whenever you're busy in parenting but want to make that time for one another. So let us know what that is. From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hukin.
As parents, we love finding natural ways for our family to feel their best, and that is why we chose Llama. They make genuine Baltic amber jewelry for both kids and adults, known for its soothing and grounding properties. For little ones, it's a beautiful natural option to help with teething and inflammation, and for adults, it can help ease tension and bring a sense of calm throughout the day. Each piece is handcrafted from authentic Baltic amber. It's never plastic, never imitation, just simple, natural comfort that fits your lifestyle. Check out the link in our description to shop Llama, natural comfort for the whole family. I did not fully grasp affirmations until more recently. It was like, oh no, that's not just like it's not like sprinkles on your ice cream. That's like the ice cream. Like that is just what you're supposed to believe wholeheartedly. It's not just like good foo-foo, good feels.
Sure.
It has to be like the foundation.
Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hukin. Hey guys, welcome. This is our temporary home studio because we were not able to make it to our typical Chesterfield office recording studio because the lovely snow that we got here in the St. Louis area, everybody forgot how to drive, and we get to come to you live from our dining room table. So welcome. Super glad that you're here.
Yeah, we want to have a home studio. Anywho, won't be here because this does not mix well with children.
Yeah, they'd be all over these microphones.
Yeah, they would.
I kind of like the new white mics.
Yeah, white was my pick.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it to the home studio. But hey, here we are.
Yes.
Temporary setup. I think it's working pretty good. You guys have to let us know what you think. Doesn't Abby's tree look great in the background?
I'm not an interior designer.
I think it looks good.
She's there.
She's been dogging on her own tree skills.
Not really. It just makes me itch.
I think it looks great. It really does. It really looks good.
It does. Merry Christmas.
It does. So,
okay, today,
what do you want to talk about today?
I am so excited. I love this topic all of the time, but it is just the abundant mindset.
It's very important.
Yes, and it even goes so much further than just abundant mindset. That just doesn't even encompass all that it can, but I'm really excited just to talk about that and dive into that today.
I heard somebody say that they believed in the law recently. I thought that was interesting. The use of the word law, the law of infinite abundance. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. So it's where you believe that there is more than enough for all of us to have more than enough.
Okay, I have. I don't know where I've heard that before, but yes.
I just yelled it at you the other day. No,
okay.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay, I don't remember.
No, I really do believe that. And I think, well, again, not to get too deep into these weeds, but the very first ever sin that's listed in the Bible is a sin of lack and a sin of scarcity. And we were told as humankind that we could have and eat from any tree in the garden, lest the one tree in the midst of the garden. And what do? Don't touch the big red button, right? And like we as humankind, we just have to touch the big red button. It's born within us. But I think we have a tendency to focus on what we don't have. And we oftentimes miss all that we do have. And at the root of an abundance mindset is like gratitude for everything that God has blessed us with.
Yeah. And it's also just like limited belief.
Yeah.
Whether that's like in yourself, in others, or your circumstances.
Right.
There's a book called Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt.
Yes.
And he talks a lot about limiting beliefs and different frameworks around why we believe that, what that really looks like what is an example whenever you speak of a limiting belief.
Right.
Sometimes you have them and you don't even realize that you have them.
Yeah. And I think that is the biggest practice that we could invite you guys into with this topic is take a second and just reflect. Do I have any limiting beliefs? That book, we'll link it in the descriptions, but it talks a lot about it. Actually goes through a practice of just self-identifying. Are there any things there is nothing in the Hukin household that my kids could say that upsets me more. Like, y'all, don't come for me, but if they cussed, I might laugh that off and ask them not to do that again. But like if they say the word can't,
Yeah.
right? That's a struggle for me because I again, yes, are there things that maybe in theory wouldn't be most likely possible? You bet. But impossible is just that, a fact of your mind. And so you might be, as Abby always tells the kids, oh, it sounds like you're having a hard time. Did you mean, I'm sorry, that was a weird way to say, was that French?
Yeah.
Are you having a hard time? Like that's a thing as opposed to the word can't, but things like can't, never, always, those are textbook terms that you might find that you are surrounding a limiting belief around. I could never, I can never, I'm not capable, like I can't do this or that. Those are pretty good starter words for anything you might be doing in your life.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. People don't support me. This is just how things are. Oh, this always happens to me. Bad luck just, follows me. All of those types of things, like woe is me, pity party, are a limiting belief. And whenever you speak those, it really just attracts more to you.
Well, and it sounds too, I just heard it for the first time, you running through those, is that there's got to be some correlation between that and almost like victimhood of it's external circumstances that are affecting my current reality.
Right. Limiting beliefs they feel like reality,
right.
But really it's just a story that we keep telling ourselves.
And who's in control of telling what story to ourselves? Like we have that power. Yeah. Why would we give the power to something outside of us? Right. Like the weather.
Right. And, I was just talking with you and I just posted this online that I was talking with our kids and like sometimes even if somebody else does something that may upset our kids, I'm not neglecting their emotions. We are allowed to feel certain ways. However, we cannot give it power throughout our day. Right. We cannot let that person be in charge of how we feel for the rest of the day. We can't give them that power. We own that. And so there's been times that the kids have been upset about certain things that maybe were done or said or how somebody treated them. And I'm like, okay, let's work through that. However, you gain your power back. You don't give them that. You don't give them that power and that authority over your day and your life. You can reframe it and choose to see something good or use something good out of it, even if it's, oh, I'll never do that to anybody else. That's great.
Right. Yeah. Okay. How do you like that? I mean, that was just the dinner conversation last night that Avery and I had. Yeah. I don't remember what it was. It was something. She asked her brother for something.
She did. Yeah. Something to her
brother.
I
was like, hold on, are you doing that because he did that to you? And she said, yeah. I was like, well, is that how we react to people? Do we do to them, do we treat them a certain way because of how they treated us, or do we treat people the way we want to be treated regardless of the circumstances? And she was funny because she was just cute and chewing. She was like, basically like number two,
yep.
like
she's I hear you.
Yeah. And so I think it's little things like that. And, Ab and I get on here and we talk all the time about seemingly sometimes minute, tiny little conversations, but I think those tend to add up over the course of our life. We talk about with our kiddos starting the day with gratitude and fixing their mind on what they're thankful for, because like how easy is it for us to just continually do that where we fixate and we think about all the things we don't have. I struggle with that personally, very much so. And I want to be better about it. And so I think talking about it on here, you guys hopefully get a benefit out of, wanting to be better about that too. I get a benefit of bringing something that's a struggle for me out into the light. That's a greatest thing. So thanks for coming to my confession hour, y'all. But also it's something that we can all talk about how we can better our children for this, because the goal of this podcast is to make an impact and a positive impact, not only for Christ, but for the next generation, so that, Christ can shine through them.
Right. And I do think that is why it is so important to focus on gratitude first thing in the morning. And something that we are working with our kids right now is because we do what's called a morning 7. And it's a simple rundown. In the morning, the kids know that they are responsible for making their bed, brushing their teeth, brushing their hair, saying their gratitude, drinking their water, jumping on the trampoline, getting dressed. Like all of those things are just naturally what you do in the morning that sets yourself up for a great day. I tell them it's not that it benefits me at all if you do any of those things. It is
Right.
literally only to benefit you and your day. And I will ask them, what are you grateful for? Because it'd be easy. Mom doesn't see that I've done, gratitude today, but starting your day like that really does just set the tone. And I've talked about this before. I don't let them just rattle off the 3 things that they see. Mom, dad, siblings. Nope, doesn't count. Try again.
Pick 3 more. Those are
Yeah.
good, but let's pick 3 more.
Yep, exactly. And because I think that whenever your posture, your heart posture, your mind is focused in gratitude, you can't have both things at the same time, the scarcity and the abundant gratitude filled heart.
Right.
And because like limited beliefs are just something that's happening inside of our heads, but we live in a culture that conditions us towards staying small, staying quiet, staying predictable, and the world rewards that comfort more than they do courage. And think about your family. Is there anybody in your family that you could say, hey, I'm going to go do, or in your friend circle, anything, I'm going to go do, this really big, hairy, audacious goal of mine? And is there anybody that's like, oh my gosh, yeah, you should do that? Or are they running through the risks with you?
Yeah.
Because they want you to stay safe. And that's not necessarily bad. That's just feeding into that risky mentality.
Okay, so there's an idea here that you said limiting beliefs are kind of like this internal conversation, but I think they're actually shaped by our external environment. And I would say almost to a point that if, not going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole here, but I think we are conditioned societally to limit our own potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, we can go down that rabbit hole. If y'all want to go down that rabbit hole, call me. We'll talk about it. But I think that as a greater outlook on all things life, well, for one, the devil, the government, whoever was in control, they want a controllable people. And so if you will accept a degree of complacency over the visions and the dreams and the goals that you set maybe when you were 7 years old, but now you're not doing that, it's not me condemning you for that or whatever. It's just bringing it into light of saying, hey, that might be something that, quote unquote, they or him, the enemy, would really surround you in that, external circumstance so that you continue to really believe that inside of your heart and inside of your mind. And so it brings me to this point, and I'm not a theologian, but I'm just thinking about this right now. I want to bring it out, is that there's scripture, and Jesus talks about when he renames Peter. You remember it? Like, he's like, he's Simon, now I'm going to call you Peter. And Peter is actually Petros. We say Peter. Petros is just meant rock. And then Jesus said, on that rock, I am going to build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And I've always thought that was a weird thing, and I don't fully understand it and comprehend it, except for gates are a defensive mechanism. And that's like gates aren't going to, the gates of hell aren't going to prevail against it. Like, they're going to be defensive, not offensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, they keep stuff out, or maybe they lock something in, but guarding. Why would the gates of hell prevail? Why would they ever prevail against the church of Christ? Well, I think there's something to be said there about how much of that battle happens in our minds. And so when we have a limiting belief, we are bound by the gates of hell, if you will, and we have to actually open them up and get past that. Do we need to pause?
What is that?
Our dogs fighting.
Like Bear and Finn?
Hold on, I'm coming right back.
Are you sure? It sounded like Winnie. You stopped it? Okay. As parents, we love finding natural ways for our family to feel their best, and that is why we chose Llama. They make genuine Baltic amber jewelry for both kids and adults, known for its soothing and grounding properties. For little ones, it's a beautiful natural option to help with teething and inflammation, and for adults, it can help ease tension and bring a sense of calm throughout the day. Each piece is handcrafted from authentic Baltic amber. It's never plastic, never imitation, just simple, natural comfort that fits your lifestyle. Check out the link in our description to shop Llama, natural comfort for the whole family.
So one dog protects our female, and I don't think the other one was trying to fight him. He sounded like he was just trying to run from him. But how about like the enemy to try to interrupt that conversation? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I didn't even think of it. I'm like, it's so weird that they're fighting because normally they don't fight without us out there or me out there. Really, they don't fight
Right.
much when you're here at all.
Right. So I don't even know what I left off on.
Something about gates.
I
Because
know,
I
I
was
was
like,
talking
is
about
that like
gates.
in my
Is it in my mind?
I'm like, is it squeaking?
I just had to take a break, y'all, and go save my dogs. I think the enemy did not like what I had to say because I think we were about to free up some stuff in your mind.
So just talk about you were talking about like the limiting beliefs are like the gates.
Yeah. So we have the gates that are genuinely a defense mechanism, and they're talking about prevailing against the church. Like that doesn't make sense, except for the fact that there is some aspect of those gates being what binds us up inside of our own minds. And if the enemy is putting us into those circumstances that are external to us, but they're shaping the way we think about everything in our mind, I think that's when he starts to actually get a stronghold. I won't say a victory because he's already defeated. Like we fight from victory, those of us that are in Christ. And so what's cool is that if we just bring this into light, just that, we are seeing that there are external circumstances that are affecting us in our belief systems. But I'm telling you guys, if you just took 10 minutes, leading into the new year that's coming and said, what do I actually believe? What do I believe to be true about me? That's not, it's just based on my external circumstances. Like, I bet you could really unpack some stuff that might just might set you up for, the future that you actually want to have, the goals that you want to achieve.
And like you mentioned, we are like a broken record with this, but who you surround yourself with matters. And if you're around people who constantly rehearse their excuses, you'll start adopting the same language, right?
Totally.
Living the same way. And if you're around people who think growth is risky or, playing it safe is really smart, different things like that, that you are what you surround yourself with. And so that's just something, I'm not saying who you're around is wrong. I'm just saying you definitely have to take that into consideration when you are reviewing. If you're having limiting beliefs, see what is playing into that and what is setting you up for success, because your beliefs, like you can commit to pushing forward through that, right? You can rewrite the way that you think about things, and you can grow past that and rewrite it. It will take some work.
Sure.
It takes some, like, you hear of affirmations. I did affirmations when I had our kids.
Sure.
Like there's like maternity affirmations.
Sure.
And I honestly, I didn't even grasp what they really were at the time. I was just like, okay, I can do hard things. Like all of those things. And like we had them, the girls colored them whenever we had Jennings. I did not fully grasp affirmations until more recently. It was like, oh no, that's not just like it's not like sprinkles on your ice cream. That's like the ice cream. Like that is just what you're supposed to believe wholeheartedly. It's not just like good foo-foo, good feels.
Sure.
It has to be like the foundation.
It is everything that we build our mindset around. And that's why we talk about all the time. I've mentioned it before. I want to come back to the thing you were saying about who you surround yourself with. But on that note, it's like who you are because of whose you are.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if we can build our foundation off of that, like I am loved, right? I was telling you the other day I was running and I was just needing it on repeat. But I was like, what was I? I'm happy, healthy, and loved. I'm happy and healthy and loved. I'm happy,
Was
healthy,
that when
and
you were
loved.
running in the dark?
Oh yeah, I was kind of that's when I say Jesus loves.
That's right. He runs in the dark. He runs so early that it's
Y'all face
dark
your fears.
out, and
I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what's in the dark that I can't see.
Yeah, and so he sings Jesus.
Hey, it's whatever gets you through. But you were mentioning surrounding yourself with people. I'm sure we've talked about it before, but show me your friends, I'll show you your future. The saying is, people say you're a collection of the 5 people you spend your most time with. My mom always used to say, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Like, careful who you hang out with, right? Everybody's mom does that. But it's real. Like the environment we put ourselves in is what is going to either elevate us or really the opposite of that, which would be, I guess, decline us or pull us back or hold us down or, that type of a thing. And so you could even take that so far as one mentor of ours that said, look at your income. Like if you have 5 people, if you have 5 friends that you spend most time with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your income probably lands right about the average of that. And some incomes can be great, but if you're trying to level up and do everything, it's like you don't just lose your friends because of different income amounts or anything like that. But you just look at, again, who am I spending the most of my time with? Are they in pursuit of the same level of things? It doesn't have to be like same industry or same stuff or, anything like that, or houses
Not
or not houses
everybody
or
will check all
material
the
stuff. No,
boxes.
it's
Yeah.
just an aspect of, do we align, at least in the desired pursuits of our hearts that God has laid on our hearts? Do we really want to go after this? Or is that friendship, growing me or declining me?
Right. And I think because at the end of the day, we are responsible. We are responsible for the things that we believe. And it is only up to us. It is nobody else's fault.
Right.
It is nobody else's responsibility to tackle them and overcome them. Only you. And once you decide to do that, that's when change will actually start happening.
Right.
And you can see things unfold.
Serious question. Why is it easier to accept that, like a victim mindset, than to accept that it's you?
You can place blame on somebody else.
But
you also stay comfortable. You're comfortable being a victim.
Sure.
Everybody feels bad for a victim. But the thing is that when you stop being a victim and you start taking control, what happens is the people who are still stuck in being a victim are like, well, look at you. Well, look at that,
Yeah.
Did you know that we spend about a third of our lives in bed? That's over 8 hours a day that our body should be resting, healing, and restoring. But did you ever stop to think about what we're breathing in during that time? Most mattresses today are made with synthetic foams, flame retardants, and chemicals that release toxins into the air, especially while we sleep. That's why we made the switch to My Green Mattress, made with only clean organic materials. There's no chemical smell, no off-gassing, just a pure supportive mattress that helps your body truly rest and recover the way it was designed to. As a family, that peace of mind is worth everything. If you want to create a healthier home from the inside out, go check out the link in our description. You'll see exactly why we love our green mattress and why we'll never go back.
Yeah, because again, it's easier for me to pull you down than for me to elevate myself. That one makes sense to me. But what I don't understand is just in self accountability. Like, I probably, as a default, again, there are definitely things that I don't want to face me being the problem in them. But I would say most of the time, probably to a fault, I will blame myself. But hey, I didn't coach them appropriately. I didn't lead them correctly. I didn't, that's on me. I'll always put that blame on myself in the sense of, I don't want to deflect and be like, well, they just didn't do what they were told,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. But it's like, why does it seem to be in society's standpoint that it's just like, yeah, I'll just look at my external circumstances. Like, I'm telling you right now, if that's a belief of you that the outside is affecting you more than you're affecting you, that's why you're where you're at.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of times with what you just said, of always looking at yourself, that is always definitely what you should do. What could I have improved? What could I have done different? But in that, at the same time, you could ask yourself, am I being the leader? Am I showing up as the leader or the person or the father or the husband or, whatever role that you're in to the best of my ability? And most of the time, there's room for improvement. But I think that that's where that comes from too. If you're already leading that leadership style well, then you're less likely to be like, yeah, it really was my fault.
Right. Yeah. Well, and too, like, we hear this said all the time. I like it. But let's just say you use that example. I want to be a better father. I want to be a more present husband. I want to level up. I want to get that promotion, like whatever it is. Ask yourself this, not what do my external circumstances have to be for that to happen, right? Because that's where we find all those limitations in our mind. Instead, take a moment, journal about it, write it down, and say, who do I have to be to accept that level of a promotion? Who do I have to be to start that company? Who do I have to be that kind of a present father, husband, employee, coworker, leader, business owner, whatever it might be? And I think that's where probably the root of solving for your limiting beliefs comes in, because you can actually get past it that way.
You really can. And it's instead of waiting for it to happen for you to then become that person, you have to become that person before it happens.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, emotion is such a big thing in what we feel and then what we think. And that's the slippery slope as well, is because whenever we base things off of, well, like, how do we feel? Like, what's our emotion towards them versus you just like, you choose that.
Sure.
And you're like, I'm ready to be that. And I'm, if it's your health, You don't say, oh, I'm so sick, oh my gosh, well, if I could just lose 30 pounds or whatever that may be. Like, your health journey is shaped by the beliefs that you carry about your body.
Right.
And if you believe that you're just an overweight person, or you're just an anxious person, or you're just somebody who's too busy to take care of yourself, like, your actions will follow that narrative.
Sure.
But if you shift your believing to that, like, oh, God designed my body to heal and adapt and thrive, you begin to then take actions that align with that thought process. And then your belief is a catalyst to getting you.
And I think I love that term. I love that term, belief, because I think what we're on the slope of, the slippery slope, or the fine line of here is like, we talk about it all the time, like manifesting versus just being in alignment with who God says I am. Right. And so today, right now, in that moment, might not be the version of you that you want to be. But if you can fix your eyes on that version of you, the wildest thing is that if you can have that thought, which is just as easy to have that thought, which is a desired outcome for, let's just say, 10 years down the road, or 10 months down the road, 10 days down the road, I don't care. That's the desired outcome. Well, we spend all of this time, like exponentially more time, on thinking about and quote unquote, I want to say manifesting, or just like thumbing over in our mind time and time again about the undesired outcome. And then that keeps us stuck and stagnant where we don't want to be. And so if you can think, which thought is the fastest thing in the universe. They always talk about the speed of light, but if you can think it, like, how fast is a thought?
So fast. We do this all the time. We're like, well, what are you thinking about? And it's like, well, I'll tell you, but I got to tell you how I got there. And it takes like 5 minutes, but it was like within 2 seconds.
It was a snap of a finger. Felt like I had all of those thoughts. Right. And so that's what's wild, is that if you can think it, then the only thing that's actually between you and that version of you that you want to achieve, be it health or wealth or financially or your family or your faith or whatever it is actually just time. And time is a weird construct. It's actually a man-made construct. Like, right? God's not bound by time. So we made it up. So we're all worried about whether it happens in 2025 or 2026 or 2027 or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You're an eternal being with a physical finite body. So, okay, let's think about that. So if that's the case, then all you have to do is fix your mind on the desired outcome that you want and allow the time to pass while, as Abby said, actually putting your mind on those desired outcomes. And so then you start to shift your physiology into, hey, you know what? Like, thing drives me crazy is like, I don't have time, or I can't wake. I'm not a morning person. Like, that's a limiting belief. Do you want to be a morning person? If you don't want to be a morning person, you love working at night or whatever, that's fine. But like, don't say things like that.
Right.
Like, hey, no, you know what? I'm a morning person. Well, what do morning people do? They go to bed on time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They go to bed early. They set their alarm. I just, I can't get up in the morning. I snooze my, I was like, yes, you can. You definitely can't. If you say, I don't know who said this. It's a famous quote. I can't steal it. It's that famous. But it says, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Yes.
Whoa.
We say that to our kids.
Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And the can might be harder. Like, we might not be able to know the exact how to get there. However, it's possible. It's just a matter of time. And time is a man-made construct that doesn't actually matter. We are just going to be in, as Dave Meltzer always said, a consistent and persistent pursuit of all that I am meant to be. Right? So parents, you want to be a better parent? Sweet. What do better parents do? I don't know. I'll ask sometime. Everybody. We're not good parents.
Yeah. It looks different for every person. But even that, like, think about families. Think about families who are like, oh, our kids are just wild, which, yeah, sometimes kids are just wild, call it what it is. But, oh, well, our marriage will always be strained because X, Y, Z. Oh, well, our family struggles, blah, 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 blah. Like, all of those statements feel like observations, but are actually just those limiting beliefs wearing masks of reality.
Right.
And it's like, when a parent can rewrite that, how much more life could you speak into your family, into your kids, into whatever it is? It's like, oh, we are a family that does what we say we're going to do. We are a family that is disciplined. We are a family that does the hard things just because they're hard, and we are better for it. And
careful, you're getting me all excited. I like doing hard things.
You do. You like it so much more than anybody I've ever met. It's
a problem.
You kids are respectful. You are loving. You are caring. You are kind. All of that. And in return, this is not bragging. It's not all the time. But what are we told anytime somebody meets our kids?
Those are the best kids.
Your kids are so respectful. Oh my gosh, your kids, look how caring they are.
If that sounds like bragging, it is.
We speak it into them. So they have no other choice. Do you see what I mean?
But I really do. I mean, everyone brags on their own children, but I am so proud of our children for that thing.
Yes.
Like, and it's a gift, and I'm so glad that they are that. And as Abby said, they're not that all the time, but like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, we get to brag on our kids. And I'm telling you right now, somebody needs to hear this. You got a Father in heaven, and he wants to brag on you. Like, he's a good dad, and he loves his kids, and he'll brag on you all day long. He sees you for only the good that you ever are, as long as you know Jesus as your Lord and Savior. So know him, love him, and then carry out a life that points others to him. That's all we want. That's what we want for our children. And that might be in sports. That might be in, horse showing something. I don't know. It might be from a pulpit. That might be in their business. Like, everything in our life, whatever the gifts we are given, whatever gifts our children have been given, it's not, a profession. It's not anything other than it's really an altar. And so it's like every single thing that our kids are good at is just a platform to proclaim the good news of Jesus.
Yes.
Right? I mean, yeah. So
there's something that I want you to share that we were talking about the other day.
Oh boy.
Your reference to David and Goliath. I want you to talk about that.
Oh, which one?
The one where
I know David, I know Goliath.
Okay, like the limiting belief would be that you couldn't defeat.
That he was too big versus too small?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So everybody always looked at, I don't remember where I heard this from. It was like it's a country accent in my head. So it's something like that. But, all the other soldiers turned around, they looked at Goliath and said, oh boy, he's too big to kill. And David said, oh man, boy, he's too big to miss. Praise God. Let's roll. Right. And it's like, it's just a perspective shift. Like, there is no way, like, whatever. I love this, and I do this with people I like coach and mentor in business and stuff, is that whatever your greatest obstacle is actually, or your biggest obstacle is actually your greatest opportunity. And the same is true in your parenting. The same is true as your relationships. The same is true in your job. Whatever you're facing as an obstacle is a massive opportunity for you, one, to grow, and two, to overcome, and three, probably help the person that's causing that obstacle to be. Because let's be honest, obstacles, people equal problems. Yes. So the obstacle is probably a person, right? So for sure. And there's so much good in that. That book you already referenced makes me think of that teacher. In that book, do you remember reading it? The teacher, she wanted to...
I can't think of her name, but yes, Haley.
Was it? Maybe. I don't know. You guys are going to have to read the book. It's a fantastic book, because if you really want to level up, you want to have a better year, you want to have a better life, whatever it is, like it's a best year, which is, again, a time-bound construct, which doesn't matter, but it's just like, hey, always be in self-development, always be in self-improvement. I can be a little better today than I was yesterday. Let's go after it. So,
and just truth be told, I used to hate that.
I love it.
And he was always like, yeah, you could just be better. Like, better you tomorrow. And I'm like, I don't like that. I'm fine today.
I got her on the Garmin trend. She's gonna love it.
I am.
But with our fitness stuff, we don't love to wear wearables all the time. We keep all the Bluetooth stuff off on them as much as we can, because that's not awesome for your health. And Ab tends to be a bit sensitive to it. However, Garmin has an awesome mindset, or a quote. I don't know what to call it. Slogan. That's the word it is. Slogan. And it says beat yesterday. And I love it. Because that is, our whole life is built around this concept of Excelsior, which is Latin for higher and higher. Like, not that today's not good enough. Today was a great day. But you know what? We can set some goals and make tomorrow even better.
From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hukin.